Okay, welcome to the Coram Civic Meet the Candidates Night. Just want a quick review of tonight's format. Prior to the start of the event, candidate scoring sheets and candidate questions and answer sheet are available from Kareem for all Coram Civic members and Coram residents and non-residents. The candidate question sheet looks like this. You can fill it out, give it to Kareem during part one of the session here, and hopefully we'll have enough time to answer all that. The scoring sheet looks something like this. You're rating the candidates from 1 to 5 on how you feel that they did tonight. Ahead of time, I want to just apologize to Dan Lasquadro and Ed Romaine and Dave Colon, because they indicated they weren't going to be here, but fortunately, they showed up, and that's great. So I have a place for them on the scoring sheet. So write their name in and give them the score that you feel that they deserve for tonight. Okay. During part one, it's going to be a two-part type of thing. During part one, it's going to be a question and answer period, and we're going to ask 3 questions of each candidate in turn. And then we'll go in part two. During part one, each candidate is going to be allowed a minute and a half to respond. Part one, candidate introduction, will occur in a minute. Each candidate will get 1 minute to basically state their name, what they believe in. The second part of the event will be audience questions. Again, if you fill out a question and answer sheet, you may get your question answered. Now, during this, and you get 1 minute, the candidates will get 1 minute to answer the question during that period. Now, it's personal experience of my own, being part of a Meet the Candidates night on a couple of occasions. During this event, we will not allow any heckling, outbursts, disrespect, character assassination attacks of any kind. If somebody does that, they will be asked to please leave. This meeting tonight is to get information on how these people, and some of them are going to get elected to represent us for either 2 or 3 years, what they're going to do for Coram. So please respect them and respect everybody else here. I believe in Coram, we can act in a very civil manner. With that, I will start to introduce each candidate in turn, and they have 60 seconds to introduce themselves. Dan Lasquadro.
Thank you. Good thing I've never been accused of being quiet, so I know my voice will carry. Dan Lasquadro, I'm the highway superintendent here for the town of Brookhaven. I have represented this community in one fashion or another in elected office. Amazing to me, for the past 20 years. I was your county legislator for the northern portion of Coram. I was the New York State Assemblyman, and for the past 10 years, I've been highway superintendent. I hope during that period of time, you have seen a significant change in the operations of the highway department. The process is not a short one. The process is not one that happens overnight, but I hope you see the result of the long-term effort and the gains we have made in transforming the Brookhaven Highway Department. I know we're short on time for introduction, so I look forward to speaking with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Town supervisor position, Daniel Panico.
Sure. Good evening, and thank you to the Coram Civic Association. Thank you all for attending. My name is Dan Panico. I'm currently the deputy supervisor and elected 6th district council person since 2010. I've run in 10, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 19. I've been elected by overwhelming majorities because I work exceedingly hard for the people that I represent. Tonight, I look forward to talking to you about macro issues like the town's AAA bond rating, the fact that tomorrow the state comptroller announced that the town has a 0 score. And in this case, 0 is great in terms of fiscal and environmental stress, and talk to you about land use, zoning, planning, redevelopment. When it comes to town government, the most important thing, the preeminent power the town government has, is land use, zoning, and planning. I represent a lot of communities with a lot of similarity to the greater Coram area, and I look forward to talking to you about your community tonight during this event. Thank you.
Thank you. Council District number 2, Jane Barner.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Coram Civic Association, for hosting this event. It's something I look forward to on one hand and something I dread on another. And that's the God's honest truth, and nobody up here will admit to that, but we all feel the same way. I've been in elective office since 2007 and have enjoyed large wins in all my years in office. I have represented the Coram community for a number of years and have taken on a stronger leadership role in the past year, greater. The three issues that are part of something that mean the most to me are crime and public safety, taxes, and our environment. And to that end, as Councilman Deputy Supervisor Panico stated, land use is the greatest use of my powers as the Coram representative for Council District 2, and I have been working with the Coram Civic Association to bring stores and redevelopment and eliminate some light and work with our local police department to help bring you your own sector parks to help with crime. Thank you.
Carol Russell, please.
Just take a seat right next to him.
If you can be Ed Romaine, right?
Ed's coming.
He's coming, yeah.
All right, ready?
Moving around out here.
All right, thank you, everybody. We don't have a mic, so please, if anyone can hear me in the back, just raise your hand because I tend to drop off. I'm Carol Russell. Many of you may have seen me in the last 6 months or so since I joined the Coram Civic. I generally hang out in that back corner there because I live in Coram, and I am running for Council District 2 because I think that it's time that Coram, as well as all of District 2, have a real voice in the community. I have been a nurse as my profession. I put myself in law school and became a lawyer representing nurses and healthcare providers. I spent 30 years doing that. Since 2017, I've been an active member in our small farm business. I live on Bunkerski Road with my husband. We do the little flower stand. Some of you may or may not know that area. But I've also been an active role model and mentor in Dress for Success and mock trial at Lowland High School where my court takes place. And I'll finish later. It's very noisy here. The fan came on, but you guys can hear okay? All right.
Okay, is Neil Mazzilla here? Okay, he may show up later. Michael LaGarcia. Now, before Mike stands up, on the scoring sheet, you're gonna see a space for Mike's name, but he's not there. We didn't think he was gonna show up tonight. So just write his name in and score him, please.
You know me.
Ready?
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Coram Civic, and thanks for having us all here. I think most of you know me, Michael Garcio, councilman in the 4th Council District. I've been in council now for 8 years. And over the course of that time, I think we've done a lot of good things together. A lot more that we have to do. Folks know me from Longwood School Board. Spent 12 years on the Longwood School Board. I was 4 years president, 3 years as vice president. We accomplished a lot there. We did a lot of good things. I guess this is an opening. I'm not sorry.
Opening, yes.
Okay.
Opening minute.
Opening minute. Okay. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Really, you're the ones I want to hear from more than you want to hear from me. Thank you.
Okay. Michael Kaplan.
Good evening, everyone. I don't need a microphone as most people know, but I'm a Coram resident, proud Coram resident. My parents lived here for 25 years, and so I have a vested interest in this town. I spent 30 years as a highway employee, 20 years in Islip, and 10 years with the town of Huntington. I also spent 10 years in the United States Army, and spent 2.5 years in the Middle East. And I'm going to take all that knowledge in highway and my leadership role in the Army, and I'd like to share with you my vision on how I feel the necessary changes to be made when it comes to highway. Thank you.
Okay. Council 4 again, Cameron Trent.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Cameron Trent. I'm running for 4th Council District. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Coram Civic, for having me. I'm 26 years old. A little bit about myself. I used to work for Rob Calarco in his legislative office, doing constituent work and handling constituent services. I am now in the town of Babylon doing the same thing in the supervisor's office, handling consistent concerns as well. I am also on the South Country School District Board of Education. This is my 5th year of Board of Education. I ran right out of high school because there were a lot of issues I've seen as a student, similar to the same reasons I'm running now as a candidate for town office. Because I see a lot of things in our town as a young person who wants to stay here, wants to grow roots here, have a family here. It's not really favorable. I know a lot of people move from Brookhaven to Florida, not too many move from Florida to Brookhaven, so I want to change that. That's why I'm here. My name is Kevin Turner, running for the 4th Council District, Brookhaven.
Okay. Nicholas Caracappa.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I think you'll put out tonight. I'm Nick Caracappa. I'm running for re-election for the city district. I'm born and raised in Southern Hawaii. Raised my family there. I know what it's like to grow up in our communities and struggle. Since I've been elected, I've seen a leadership in our roadways, I've seen a leadership in our health, leadership. Like, I've served in my community since the day my first child was born. We want to do better for them, better for my family, better for all of us. I know what it's like to be a hard worker person. I worked 34 years for Suffolk County Water Authority, was president of the local union there. 14 of those years, served on my school board, middle country, school district, state, 7.5 years. Civic member, PTA member, I know what it's like. I'm a voice of the people. They've been raised in Selden. My area is Selden, Centers, Farmingville, Ron Concord, Holston, Holbrook, Forum. My expanded area is more of Coram now. I'll be doing more of Coram, Bedford, and Port Jeff Station. I am your voice. I am your ears. I'm here. So whatever I can do to help your family, I know I'll help my family as well.
Thank you. Is Tim Hill here?
He's not.
He's not. Okay, we'll move on. Anthony Figola.
Good evening. Thank you for everybody being here. My name is Anthony Figliola. I'm running for the 5th Legislative District, which encompasses Hawkins, Springbrook, Port Jefferson, Terryville, as well as Coram on 112, between 112 and Old Town, all the way to 83 on the west side. I work in private business, work in economic development, and I run a government relations firm. So I work with companies who are looking to grow and helping to get capital financing to do that. The reason I'm running is I have young kids in the school district. I've lived on Long Island all my life. I love this place, and I think it's time that we have citizen legislators standing up and running for local public office. I understand the struggles that everybody is having, especially now during the economic times that we have. I've knocked on thousands of doors, and I feel your pain because I'm in it too. And I want you. You're going to have a legislator that's going to not only care, but I understand I'm feeling it as well. And I want to be someone that's going to be very checked in and work for you 24/7. I look at this as an opportunity to work for you, and thank you for your time. I look forward to speaking with you.
Okay. I saw Steve Engelbright come in.
Good evening. How are you all? Good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Steve Engelbright. I live in Setauket. I have represented the Coram area entirely in the past, and so it's nice to be back with you this evening. Thank you for the invitation. A little about myself. I'm a geologist by training. I teach sustainability studies and mostly local geology at the University of Stony Brook. I served 8 years before I entered into elected office as the geologist for the Legislative Commission on Water Resource Needs for Long Island. And I care about water. The water is a big issue this year because, unfortunately, the majority in the Suffolk County Legislature denied the people the right to complete their involvement with this issue in a referendum. I think we need to correct that. We need to put the question of clean water back on the ballot.
I'm sorry, but we
don't want to
do
you
that.
got to cut your
And
introduction's only
right
60
now.
seconds. Your introduction's only 60 seconds. You'll get question and answer later on. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, is Chad Lennon here? No. Dorothy Cavalier. Dorothy?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thanks to thank you, Coram Civic, for having this and for inviting me. My name is Dorothy Cavalier. I'm running for the Suffolk County Legislature in District 6. For all of you who are familiar, that's Sarah Anker's current seat. Sarah Anker, unfortunately, is term limited, and I'm running for her seat. I am actually her chief of staff. I've been her chief of staff for almost 5 years. Before that, I was an attorney for 21 years practicing in the courts. I went to work for Sarah Anker in 2018, and I fell in love with the job of taking care of the people in the district. Unfortunately, with the redistricting, we have a far smaller piece of Coram in our district. So we only have 2 EDs, so that's the northeast corner of Coram. But I will tell you that during my time at Sarah's, I've been at the cleanups on 25. I worked very hard and very close with the Coram Civic on all their issues. And even though our district in Coram is much smaller, I intend to continue working on behalf of the people of Coram and working with all the elected officials across the town and state to make Coram a better place to live for everyone.
Ryan McCary?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Coram Civic Association. Ryan McGarry, candidate for Suffolk County's 7th Legislative District. Before I introduce myself, I want to thank all of you for coming up, giving up your evening to participate in tonight's forum, meet the candidates. This is what makes America great, that you're willing to play an active part in our politics and government. I'm a volunteer firefighter in Patchogue, coming out of the labor movement, where I've dedicated my life to fighting on behalf of working people, advocating for their rights. In the government, I've had about 10 years experience working for both the Republican as well as Democrats. So I have an experience in being able to cut through the partisan divisive rhetoric that we're seeing today, bring people together, get work done for the people of Suffolk County, and deliver what we really need in government, and that's service and representation. I'm here to hear you guys, and I look forward to the questions tonight. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Before we proceed to part 1, which is the 3 questions from the Coram Civic, I got an executive order from my president here. We're taking it from a minute and a half to just 1 minute for your responses to the questions. I always listen to my president.
I'm sorry, guys, but we want to give some time for audience questions as well, and I don't think we'll do that if we do 90 seconds. And the other thing is, I appreciate everyone's enthusiasm, but we really have to stick to the 60 seconds. So once the buzzer goes off, the buzzer's word is like Frank. We have to stop just because of the interest of time. All right?
See, I'm not the bad guy. All right. I'm going to do the first question to the highway superintendent, and then his person that's running for him. What will you do to ensure that the Coram community receives our fair share of road maintenance and services?
I think I've already embarked upon that. I mean, look at the amount of work that was done in Gordon Heights community in the past 10 years. I think unprecedented in the past probably 3 decades before that. I have the benefit that I run townwide. I no longer look at things as council districts. So I'm able to look at Coram as a whole. We've been able to treat it as such. I assure you that there is sound engineering that goes into our decision-making process. And again, as I said in my introduction, if you look at what we have accomplished in the past 10 years, we are on pace to have the town on a 15-year paving cycle. Again, I'm not patting myself on the back, but that is something that has never been done in the town of Brookhaven. It is something that I had to take a 3, 5, 10-year business plan to approach. It is something that I'm still working on, but it's something that we've made great strides towards, and I look forward to continuing to work for this community. Thank you.
Okay. Michael Kaplan, same question.
My plan is, I've actually implemented my plan already for the past 6 or 8 months. I have inspected over 75 recharge basins that have not been inspected. As you know, flooding issues on Long Island are paramount into the sustainability of our roads and our drinking water. Number 2 is I've spoken to over 80 residents who complain to me that there is a very bad lack of response when they contact the highway department. As a true public servant, it's all about the residents. And people get tired of me saying it, but it's all about the residents. It's your voice to challenge me to be a better. If I'm elected, challenge me to make myself better. But it's all about public service, and I'm here for the voice of the people who have been complaining in court because I love this town. Thank you.
Okay, the next series of questions is gonna go to all the other runnies, and I'm gonna start with Dan Panico. Dan, what is your plan to assist Coram business owners with empty stores and fill those empty stores with new businesses?
Well, I think that, you know, the holes of the town, most any municipal government are filled of visions. The difference that I bring is actual execution. When you look at the district that I represent, in the Mastic, Shirley, Mastic Beach area, namely Mastic and Shirley, now in the advent of the sewer district that I worked with Kay Browning, then Rudy Sunderman, and now Jim Mazzarella on, we work in our planning department to go out, we contact the landowners, we contact businesses, and we say, how can we help you? We don't expect people to come knocking on the door of town hall. The successes that we've had in that commercial district, with now stretching from William Point Parkway all the way going through Mastic Road, are real successes. And the same ability, the same knowledge that I have when it comes to land use, zoning, and planning, and the same ability to execute for the community and for the landowners to bring up the overall aesthetic, bring up the landscaping, bring up the architecture, and the type of business is what I will do for Coram.
Okay, Jane Bonner, same question.
So, my approach as the council person approach is already in the works, meeting with the Coram Civic Board and residents of the community, identifying parcels that are ripe for redevelopment, meeting with the parcel owners to discuss with them the redevelopment that Coram desperately needs, and we move from there. We've partaken in numerous meetings with the Coram Board and Councilman Panico and our planning staff to identify parcels that are ripe for redevelopment, and then the next step is to meet with representatives, builders, to identify those that are willing to come in and execute the vision that this community wants.
Okay, Carol Russell, same question.
Thank you. So I think in Coram in particular, the vacant shopping centers and strip malls that we have pretty much along the 112 the 25 corridor, but now we're also going to see it in the Movie Land shopping center up on 112, relates primarily to increase the amount of sort of petty crime and crime that's around. So I think we have to first attack that problem and get better code enforcement. Coram Civic has done a wonderful job getting a dedicated police cruiser. I'm seeing it, I'm sure all of you are seeing it, but if we can get a handle on the crime, then we can also work that we redevelop the empty shops that we already have and bring back businesses. We also, on the town level, should think about not issuing permits for new strip malls to be built. We have one right down on 83. I know that's Farmingville, but it's empty. We have plenty of empty shops in Coram that we can redevelop.
Thank you. Michael Lugercio, same question.
Right, thank you for that question. Folks, you know, the first thing you have to do in a situation like this, you have to attack the challenge that is presented to you. That main challenge is sewers. We have to get sewers into this area. And you know what? I've been very successful in doing the exact same thing that we're trying to do here in the greater Bellport area, in the redevelopment of Montauk Highway. And that's something that now we're working up here on the Middle Country Corridor. We're working with developers. We're working with the county. The county is going to be paramount in helping us to bring the sewers into this area. And the reason being is because once we get the sewers in the area, now we could bring in the additional businesses. The other challenge we have is to repurpose these businesses. You see, years ago, when all these storefronts were built, that was the thing. Now, nobody buys from stores anymore. Everybody buys online. If I need toothpaste, I go and I order Amazon. And most of us do the same thing. So what we're doing here now is repurposing to what the community actually needs as opposed to those stores. Thank you very much.
Okay. Cameron Trent.
Yeah, so first, then what I would have done is advocated strongly on behalf of the Coram District in the Suffolk County Legislature. You guys hear me in the back? So I'll stand up. I would encourage the Suffolk County Legislature to put the water referendum on the ballot, so we could have those sewer systems that Mr. Legurcio talked about, so we can have businesses come in and grow and be successful. I also agree with Carol. I think public safety is also important. Why would business want to come in if they're gonna have borderers and people outside that's gonna run folks away? So that's also important. I think as a councilman, I will also work with the local chamber of commerce. I will also work with the civic organizations. And I'll also work with existing businesses to see what is the need and what gaps can we fill. I think that's important as a town councilman. And like I said, the first thing I would have done, which should have already been done by a representative, is to advocate that the Suffolk County Legislature put the water referendum on the ballot so we can have the sewers that Mr. Gershon talked about.
Okay, Nicholas Karakapis, same question.
Okay, well, we only have 60 seconds to answer this, but I welcome any questions on that water issue. We get a lot of people negativity about that water issue coming up, the water quality issue. I'll explain in detail like I did a couple of weeks ago. But to Mr. Garcia's point, I'm the one who got $20 million allocated to the Coram area, on my other areas in my district, have shovel-ready sewer projects come into this development. That's going to entice businesses to come in. It's going to entice other businesses to come in and remove those life buildings. We want major restaurants. We want housing and not flop housing, real housing. You know, we want to have medical facilities. The only way you're going to be able to do that is to work with law enforcement, work with our communities, work with all levels of government. We have been doing it. Show us in here. That's what we're going to do. We're going to work with our ministry, representing not just here, the entire middle country corridor. So the farm is part of that. Get in the news release or signed off by the county executive. I'm proud to bring that for the first time ever here in the farm to be residents. All of this.
Thank you. Tim Hall, please.
Oh, he's not here.
He's not here. Sorry about that. You're right. Anthony Figueroa.
I echo the sentiments of several people in the dais here. As an economic developer, that's what I do. I work with companies that are trying to expand their operations and site locations. Forum I've known for a long time because I grew up in Rocky Point. I learned to actually swim and safety swim, and so did my kids. And I spent a lot of time before movie land. What we have to do is we have to follow the visioning of this particular corridor. We have to ensure that we have the proper infrastructure, which obviously is going to be sewers, which will create more density, that will attract businesses. Working with the landowners as well as other developers, we want to try to bring in different types of business, not just retail, but corporations, Class B office space, as well as manufacturing in certain areas where it might make sense, because we want to generate additional income. We're not looking for businesses that are going to take money from this economy, they're going to add to it and create jobs. I'll work with what I think to be the next county executive, Ed Romaine. We'll work with economic development and come in here and work with the community. Because it's about community-based planning, because you all have to be on board.
Okay, thank you. Steve Engelbright, same question.
So one of the great strengths of Coram is its history. I've already made some investments of state money into, for example, the Davis House. This was for more than 100 years the nerve center of Brookhaven town. We should not forget that history. In fact, it was here that the fuel depot for the British Army in the Revolutionary War, it was a stack of hay. They didn't have motors, they had horses. And the burning of the hay at Coram was one of the great events in the history of Long Island. We should celebrate that, build on it, the vitality that comes from that. We see in other communities that celebrate their history and build on it. I should also point out, there has been a sea change in the use of commercial space in the last 2 or 3 years because of a pandemic. We have an opportunity to change the use of some of our commercial space.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Cavalier, please.
I mean, I think I echo most of the sentiments up here. I think you're going to hear a lot of the same things because I think our ideas are not that far apart from each other. The first thing I would do, though, is work with the Coram Civic and the residents of Coram to find out what you're looking for along your business district. Yes, we need the expansion of sewers so we can bring in wet business as well as a dry business. Yes, we need to deal with quality of life issues. We need to work with the police, and we need to make it safer in the district, and we may need to make it So the businesses want to come back, but we have to talk to you first and find out what is it exactly you haven't, you want to see on your main corridor. I participated in both walk audits in Coram and in Middle Island along 25. That's another thing we have to do. It was an AARP audit along with Vision Long Island. We've identified there's several things along 25 that are just unsafe. Crosswalks. There are no crosswalks sometimes. The lights aren't long enough for you to cross. It's very dangerous. So we need to address those issues as well to get in and out of the strip malls.
Thank you. Ryan McCary?
Yes, thank you. With the vacancy rate, there's 3 quick points I want to make. About 20 years ago in downtown Patchogue, it suffered an over 70% vacancy rate. I'm proud to have played a small part, having both been a professional in the county executive's office, a volunteer on the community development board in Patchogue, and on the zoning board of appeals, helped revitalize that community. It's now one of the most thriving downtowns in our county. I'm looking to bring the policies that we know work, the proven policies that we have already implemented, to the greater region in the 7th district. So that's number one. Number two, as we've heard, infrastructure investment. This is what the core function of government should be doing, providing the opportunity for the private sector to thrive. We need the government to be making smart investments to allow private investments to succeed here. That's sewers, that's transportation infrastructure, that's energy infrastructure. I am so disheartened by our legislative majority for voting against that single bill, and I do look forward to talking about it tonight. And third is we need to address affordability so people have disposable income and they can actually support our small businesses and allow them to thrive.
Okay. Next question is going to be for Highway Superintendent. We're going to give this to Michael Kaplan first. Will you commit to meeting with the Coram Civic on an annual basis to review all proposed town highway road work and maintenance?
Thank you for that question, sir. Not only will I work with the Coram Civic Association, but I will work with every civic association across Brookhaven. But being that I am a resident here, I will work very closely with the Coram Civic. I will attend every meeting, and hopefully all of you folks will be here and answer and ask me questions and challenge me, and I will answer your question. I'm a blue collar. I am just a blue-collar civil servant my whole adult life. A union card holder, 30 years. So, yes, I know, got 19 seconds. What highway needs is a blue-collar civil servant who's done every part of highway, from running machinery to filling potholes to plowing roads. And that's what you're gonna get, a boots-on-the-ground superintendent. I will work with the civics very, very closely.
Dan, same question.
Yes,
Good answer.
good luck. Let's keep the show moving.
Okay.
Should know better than to ask a politician a yes or no question. Come on. No, in all seriousness, I've worked with this association for a very long time, and I will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, next question. This will go to Kathy Russell. Kathy Russell. Kara Russell, excuse me. What changes to existing laws and/or codes will you propose to reduce crime, homelessness, and vagrants?
So I think that the real key is not so much developing new laws, but enforcing the laws that we have on the vagrancy that I know is very much on the mind of the Coram Civic and people in Coram. We have anti-loitering laws already, they're just not being enforced. Okay, so I think that we could have more enforcement. I think our police have been doing a good job, that's been increasing because the Civic has been giving them the interest in doing so. But I really think that the changes in terms of putting in security cameras, I know that that's something that is very much in line with what the Coram Civic wants for commercial property, and I agree with that, and I think that that's something that we could try to do, taking into consideration privacy issues, but I think that that's a law that could be put into place. So I think there are some changes, but I think mostly we need to enforce the laws that we have.
Hey, Jane Bonner.
So I hate to be the bearer of bad news. No, loitering laws were struck off the books. Officer Barry's here, she can confirm that. There's no ability for any code enforcement officer, including our great Suffolk County Police Department, to enforce no loitering laws. Not possible. We have a state level of government that works in opposite harmony with our hamlets. Coram and Gordon Heights specifically has probably one of the largest numbers of sex offender housing, welfare dumping, you name it. Coram, through the state of New York, bears the brunt. And through the town of Brookhaven, we do what we can do with the laws that we have, and our code enforcement officers, our building department investigators, our law investigators, to write tickets, to bring people into court, and to bring them into compliance. But what we cannot do is enforce a no loitering law that no longer is on the books.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Okay. Next question goes to Michael Lagarcio, same question.
Thank you again for that question. And first of all, Jane Bonner is absolutely 100% correct. Okay, you can't enforce the law that doesn't exist. Officer Berry, who is our co-op officer, and the entire sixth precinct, they do everything they possibly can to help us. They're challenged as well. Their hands are tied. They don't always have the resources that we would like to see them have. And that's and one of the things also that the town faces is we don't have police powers. So our code enforcement cannot enforce any of the New York State laws that are on the books. But what we do, as Jane Bonner pointed out before, is that we have the power of the building authority. We have the power of the law department. So what we do is we look for the building code violations. One of the things that we do, and I'm a volunteer fireman at Ridge Fire Department. What we do is when we bring the fire marshal into certain areas, that's when we try to bring in all the other levels of government, including the police department, the building department, the state liquor authority, whatever else we can to enforce those laws. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna repeat the question again, and then this goes to Mr. Trent. Okay, what changes to existing laws and or codes will you propose to reduce crime, homelessness, and vagrants?
Yeah, so I agree with Carol. I don't think the issue is with existing codes. It's how you enforce those codes, how you evenly enforce those codes. Not where you are in the town, or how you may vote in the town, how much money or how much donation you may give to folks in the town. It should be evenly enforced. I work for the town of Babylon. We have an impressive code enforcement. Although we don't have policing powers, we have the power to work with police. We have the power to be strict on derelict property owners and absentee landlords. That goes to the issue of homelessness and housing. And I think that we could definitely put more money to our code office, which I'm sure is understaffed. It's understaffed pretty much in every town in Long Island. And we can definitely put more money towards that program, toughening up on our codes, making sure that they are enforced and that there is no gaps. And I would also promote our 411 system. You guys are important because in Babylon, you call, you make a complaint, we send code, we fix the issue. So I think I would promote that system as well.
Thank you very much. Repeat the question?
Yeah.
Okay. In order to repeat the question, okay. This is for Nicholas Caracappa. What changes to existing laws and or codes will you propose to reduce crime, homelessness, and vagrancy?
60 seconds is something we don't have time, but I'm already pretty certain laws to start communities. We have one passed, no drug bills now on the state. Simply, folks, a simple common sense legislation as an axe come through, no drug companies got to come to a way car. You got to take all the pieces with it. You can't leave bumpers between the road, every mirrors. That can be very, very harmful to not only four-wheelers. What about motorcycles? Pedestrians, bicycles, kids walking to the street when he's being hit up. It's common sense legislation. I only have 30 seconds of it. I will stay here as long as I have to answer that question. I can tell you this. There was an overwhelming sweep in both the county and in the town in the last few years. Because these communities, our communities, underrepresented, underserved. In the last 2 years in the county, 6 years and 7 years in the town, you've seen improvements. I can go on and on about where they are, and I would love to sit and talk with everybody, but that's my job. I'm not going anywhere. Discuss everything till it's tired.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, it's gonna go to Mr. Engelbright. What changes to existing laws and or codes will you propose to reduce crime, homelessness, and vagrants?
Clearly, the Councilwoman Bonner has indicated that there's a need for some adjustments, some readjustments, state law. It's state law that has weakened the hand of local law enforcement. And that needs to be reevaluated, and we need to re-empower our local police. The very fact that vagrancy has increased is in part a reflection of reality. I think also though, we need to have a better plan for developing the business district so that there is a greater sense of what is appropriate, what is inappropriate amongst everyone who visits or participates purchasing goods and services in that regard.
Thank you very much. This is gonna go to Anthony Figueroa. Again, what changes to existing laws and or codes will you propose to reduce crime, homelessness, and vagrants?
As your next county legislator, what I want you to know is you're gonna have someone who understands what you're dealing with. No less than Coram Civic, great job of getting sector car. If it's more than the county wants to supply that to you, want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to talk about all economic development, bring businesses in, but right now we're to crime, vagrancy, have wondering that's happening. One of the folks in the days that talked about foreign movement and what happens there. Want to know that there are elected officials that are there listening to you and making sure that they're addressing your needs. What you have in me is someone, you call me, I'll be available 24/7 as well as my staff. When you have an issue, you let us know. Whatever we have to do as far as the county's concerned. Because I understand that you're living it. I understand what you're dealing with. And I want you to know that you always call upon me and I'll be there to listen and to answer any of your questions or work with any of the other elected officials at any level of government. It's not just gonna be, well, that's not a county problem. No, we're gonna help you and get you the answers you need at whatever level of government it is.
Okay, thank you. It's gonna go to Dorothy Cavalier now. Again, what changes to existing laws and or codes will you propose to reduce crime, homelessness, and vagrants?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is work more closely with the police. I believe that, as a county legislator, having a good relationship with the police commission to find out exactly what are his needs to service the area of the firm. I do think that we need to work on the state level because, again, it was at the state level that bail reform was first legislated and tweaked, but maybe we need to relook at it and tweak that a little bit more and make it a little bit better so that our police officers have more tools in their tool belt to combat things like aggressive manhandling and vagrancy. So I think that's one of the first things we need to do is we need to work with the police to find out what it is in their tool belt, work with the commission to find out what he achieved, and go from there and see what it's better.
Okay, right, yes. Ryan McGarry, please.
Make no mistake, crime here in Suffolk County is on the rise. This is one of the biggest concerns when I'm knocking doors here in Coram, when I'm knocking doors in Lower Heights. Crime, vagrancy, homelessness, they're all connected. To echo the points that many of the colleagues here today made, we have to address that at the state level. We need to work together, Republicans and Democrats, town and county candidates and electeds, to address the state forms that just aren't working. Somebody who has represented first responders, somebody who represents the civilians in law enforcement, we need to stand with our brothers and sisters in law enforcement, be tough on crime, give them the tools and resources they need to be a strong fist for justice. On the other hand, as a moderate, we also need to have an open hand of service and address the root issues of crime. We need to be investing in education and apprenticeship programs so that young people have an opportunity for a future and a livelihood. So, thank you.
Okay. Dan, I didn't forget about you.
I didn't forget about you, Frank.
So we go now. That's very good. Okay, same question. What changes to existing laws and or codes will you propose to reduce crime, homelessness, and vagrants?
Well, in 60 seconds, let me tell you, one of the biggest slumlords in Suffolk County, whether it be Coram or otherwise, is the Suffolk County Department of Social Services. That is one of the biggest slumlords in this county, in my district as well, in the town of Brookhaven. This supervisor, backed by this town board, has offered to do all of the inspections in DSS homes for the county. And hopefully when we have a new county executive, that county executive will take us up on that offer. New York State bypasses the local municipalities' planning and building codes using New York State temporary housing codes. They don't even tell us. And I'm sure everyone here nodding their head, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When people are crammed like sardines into houses, just because you're down on your luck does not mean you should live in potentially unsafe housing. As the supervisor of the town of Brookhaven, I will demand that the county work with this municipality to stop being a problem in these hamlets and put people in housing that is safe. Thank you.
Okay. All right, in the to be fairness, we're gonna, Supervisor Romaine just showed up, and I know he was probably at another meeting, and he just skipped over here.
Big County.
Big County is right. Okay,
Sorry, my opponent isn't here, so we could have.
that's all right. These are the rules. You're gonna have an introduction for yourself, 60 seconds, and when we ask questions, you're gonna have 60 seconds to respond. So you're gonna play catch up. Here's your 60 seconds to introduce yourself, sir.
I'm actually gonna answer your first question, which is what's your first question? Rather than.
My first question,
Most
okay.
people know me, I've been supervisor, I've been elected 5 times. to this.
Okay, my first question is, what is your plan to assist Coram business owners with empty stores and to fill those empty stores with new businesses?
We're facing major change in the way business is being done. Because you can go on a phone like this, in 24 to 48 hours, get any product that you want online. That's challenging all of our local businesses. Right now in Suffolk County, economic development and planning are together. I'm elected county executive that adds. I'm taking economic development out of planning and creating its own department. In that department, I am creating a small business development center, like they have at Stony Brook, that will work with small businesses on putting together a business plan, helping them connect with financing, and helping them connect with promoting their products and their businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy. If we let them fail, we do disservice to our downtowns. We see empty stores, and you know that. You've seen things happen. Look south to patch off.
I have to cut you off, your 60 seconds.
I'm sorry.
Done with that 60 seconds?
Yes, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
I got too passionate, sorry.
Believe it or not, this is a brand new buzzer here too. So it works.
It works.
It's I think it's made in China, but it still works.
How about made in Coram? That's what we need. Made in Coram.
Made in Coram. We can do that. I'll let you answer the second question. What changes to existing laws and or codes will you propose to reduce crime, homelessness, and vagrants?
Well, crime to begin with. Wish I had another 60 seconds. I want to have an honest budget for the county of Suffolk. We have an honest budget in the town of Brookhaven. If I put jobs in that budget, they get filled. That is not the case in the county of Suffolk. You're paying taxes for jobs that are not filled. Right now, I'll give you a perfect example. There were 62 vacancies as detectives in our Suffolk County Police Department that we're all paying taxes for, that they put in the budget, that the legislature approved, that remain vacant. You can't go after crime when you don't fill detectives' jobs, because some of the crime requires investigation. That's the problem. You need to staff properly, and you need to go after those things that you can to ensure public safety. Public safety is the obligation of every government. It's the first obligation. If you can't do that, you can't run a government. So you're going to see a change in the public safety approach of this county if I have the good fortune to be elected.
Thank you. I'm just going to make a little announcement. Has anybody filled out any candidate questions? If so, please give them to Kareem so we can continue when we move on.
Where's the paper?
It's right up here, you can. Before we get to the last question. Okay. Wait till you get the next one.
Oh, you're up, buddy.
Okay. I'm going to proceed now to question 3 and the last question from Coram Civic for the highway superintendent. What are your plans?
Guys,
for-
please.
What are your plans for adding additional new sidewalks and widening existing bike lanes on Coram Town roads?
Every road that we pave, we examine for complete streets. I will tell you that I have applied for and received over $150 million in grant funding over the past 10 years. Some of those projects much larger, some smaller. But when we resurface a road, I don't have the money necessarily in my budget to do anything other than replace in kind. When I add additional infrastructure, it is usually done with the help of the town board and the supervisor through a capital project or through grant funding. We look at safety improvements on every road that we undertake. Where practical, where it fits into existing infrastructure and right-of-ways, and if I have the funding to do it, we do it. So every road that we pave is examined for our complete streets model. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kaplan, same question. Repeat the question. Okay. What are your plans for adding additional new sidewalks and widening existing bike lanes on Coram Town roads?
Well, I'm all for bike lanes and pedestrian traffic, I don't know, and this is why I go to safe streets. I really want to know the work deferred program when it comes to roads, because I'll tell you right now, you just go right around the corner to Old Town Road, and we all travel it quite often. And there's a little road right over here called Path, which I did a video on, and if you follow me, you'll see. I've almost 80,000 views on my videos. Old Town Road should have been done years ago. I really don't understand. So if I'm lucky to be elected, it's one of the first roads that gets resurfaced. When it comes to bike lanes, that feels about like a dark lanes don't have enough crosswalks, don't have bike lanes. I think those have to be addressed.
Thank you very much. Okay, this is the last question for the rest of the candidates. I'll repeat the question every time, excluding sewers, because we beat that dead horse to death this time around. What will you do to enhance the Coram community, in particular Route 25 and Route 112? I'll give that first to Michael Dershio.
One of the things that we have been successful in doing is working with community, working with developers to bring not only the right projects to the right areas, but with those projects, we bring jobs. In addition to bringing jobs, we bring tax revenues. What that does is that helps to fund other projects. So it becomes a cycle effect. But what we will do is continue to do what we've been doing and working with the community, developers, and other levels of government, something that myself, along with my other town board colleagues, we work with all levels of government. We're working with the county, we're working with the state, we're working with the federal government, because they all have to work together. 112 is a state road. So 25 is a state road. So we don't have the ultimate authority without bringing in the New York State representatives. We want to talk about a county road, we have to bring in the county reps. And can I keep going? Frank says another minute. I don't want to tell you what he's doing.
Town clerk, the clock is the most.
I'm sorry, guys.
I want to be honest and fair.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Who wants to impeach the president? Right. All right. All right, Mr. Trent, same question. Excluding sewers now. What would you do?
When you get question again?
Okay, what will you do to enhance the Coram community, in particular Route 25 and Route 112?
So I think that question is pretty simple. I would work with the community in any way, shape, or form that I can. I work with local businesses, civic, the IDA, my colleagues.
I put it back on.
Levels of government, have a community conversation about what you guys think, what you guys think should happen, and then I'll work with you to make sure that that is fulfilled. That's what I would do as your town council.
Okay, Jane Bonner, same question.
Thank you, Frank. So, first and foremost, obviously, we invite the community and the civic to talk about their vision for the future. Job one is working with our state partners to change vagrancy, loitering, the cashless bail, the general criminal element, working with our state liquor authority that has admitted in emails that they don't have staff to do SLA checks on the numerous businesses that are selling alcohol, where people are dying of overdoses on your streets. That is job one. When you clean up the criminal aspect, the people feel safe where they live. Then they want to shop where they live. They're not so quick to pick up this because they don't feel safe where their supermarket is. Because we have cashless bail, shopping carts run amok, drug addicts in the street, prostitution in the woods. Everything that the town can control or fix. Job one is to work with my state partners.
Thank you very much. Carol Russell, same question.
Thank you. I actually agree, and I think I said that in response to the first question in how to improve quorum. But job one is a little hard to swallow when current administration has been in office for many, many, many years. It's not time to start working with the county and the state. We should have been doing that for all of these years. And I would promise you that I would be able to work with the county and with the state to join forces to clean up the crime issue. It is a welfare dumping and sex offender dumping. There are 43 sex offenders, and they are overseen by the Brookhaven Town Public Safety Department. They know where every one of those houses are, and they are predominantly single residency or single room occupancy, not social services buildings. We had a great presentation from the head of social services here. There are only 3 social services buildings in this area.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to give the same question to Nicholas Caracappa.
Question, please?
Yeah, excluding sewers, what will you do to enhance the Coram community, in particular, the Route 25 and Route 112 corridor?
Well, I'll just echo some of the sentiments, and I have my notes here, but having 60 seconds is very hard to address everything, but again, I will stay. That's a question. So, the reform that comes from the state, and get the work. Our state representatives, we are doing. 62 out of 62, that was Suffolk County. There's 52 counties in Suffolk State. Suffolk County is rated number 62 out of 62 physically. We have spent in the last few years, got to 61 by our bond and the cutting spending. And that brings more economic development, more opportunities. More opportunities for us to increase our services to people in Suffolk County right here. Form right here in my notes. One of the most underserved communities in Suffolk County is Coram, and of course Suffolk County. We have so many departments, DSS, social services, our law enforcement, underserved and understaffed. That we put it in the budget. The executive branch has got to put the jobs out there. We are doing that. We are budgeting for it. We will build county.
Thank you very much. Okay, and next goes to Steve Engelbright. I'll repeat the question. You need to repeat it, Steve?
No, I'm good.
Good, okay.
So one of the problems that we have experienced here is that there is a organization of authority, really, and a lack of coordination between the state and the county and town. That has resulted in a patchwork of decisions being made, for example, on the state road, without consideration for a vision, without consideration for an overall plan for what this community should look like in the future. So one of the first things that I would do is bring those government units back together, sit them in one room with the community and work through toward a new master plan and a master vision for the community. It should be formalized and it should be forward.
Thank you, Steve. Anthony Figueroa, same question.
Plans are great. I think they're important because you want to have a great vision, which is basically a roadmap. And some of the issues that we have right now is we have to make sure that county departments, and I believe under our next county executive, we'll be able to do that, is fill the vacancies and roles where we have in places like social service, putting more cops on the streets and detectives, because the county has the wherewithal and capacity to be able to handle this, to answer the calls that you have, that will create safer here, a better quality of life, and that will attract more businesses to the community. But then all goes down to the fact that your tax dollars are paying, obviously, are paying for employees that don't actually exist. You need to fill some of these positions to make sure that your community is paid attention to. Now, Coram, I believe, will be on the rise, because everybody in this room, and I've been to your other civic association meetings, you're here. Look at all the people on this dais right here. These are people that care. And that's why we're standing here asking for your vote. And I think that you are at the beginning of something very great, and I'll be with you to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Okay, the next question goes to, same question goes, Dan Panico.
Well, I think in order to effectively help any community, you gotta deal with facts. And I hope the people that are sitting here listening are able to discern between what's fact and what's fiction. The town of Brookhaven Public Safety Department is not in charge of sex offenders. But the fact of the matter is, to answer your question discreetly, I would use the zoning authority within the town, understanding that if you did not have sewers, you expand your zoning capacity to bring in things like commercial recreation and the types of uses that people want to see. Zoning is contextual with the needs of the community. If you go out to people and say, hey, what would you just like to see, but not give them a context of what we can realistically get, not from an economic perspective, but from a sanitary perspective with regard to Suffolk County Health Department regulations, you're gonna get nothing done. People have been doing that for decades. The job that I have done down in the Mastic Shirley community, in the Moriches area, is the same work I'm going to do for this community as your supervisor, and it's not rhetoric, it's actual work.
Thank you. Next one goes to Dorothy Cavalier. Same question, you want me to repeat it, or? Okay. Excluding sewers, what would you do to enhance the Coram community, in particular, the Route 25 and the Route 112 corridor?
Excluding sewers, first, there's three things as far as I'm concerned. It's safety, personal safety, quality of life. So we have to address those issues. And like everyone on the panel, I think, said, we do have to start with the state and then work our way down to the county. We have to work with the state on changing some of the laws at the state level, and then working with our police officers to enforce the laws and get more police officers and give them the tools that they need to do that. Second is, it's safety of the roads. Like I said, we did audits with Vision Long Island, and we did audits with AARP, and we found that 25 is a very unsafe road. There's just not enough crosswalks. There's not enough crosswalks. There's not enough time to cross the street, and there were things that need to be changed as far as the in and out of developments or the malls that are along that, and that goes to 112 as well. So I think we need to do that as well. So we need to do a complete, safety audit to see what we need to correct. And the other thing is to work with the community and the developers to get businesses to come back, because once we make it safer, once we have the quality of life, we make it safer, they will come back.
Thank you very much. Now goes to Ryan McGarry.
Yes, thank you. In order to have a strong, vibrant, and thriving business corridors, we need a thriving community. To have a thriving community, people need to be able to feel safe in their community. So first and foremost, back to what I was saying earlier, we need to give our brothers and sisters in law enforcement the tools they need to do their jobs. We need to fill those vacancies, crack down on the bad actors that we're seeing. We are seeing prostitution in our community. We are seeing drug dealers. We have to be hard on that. We also have to provide services, increase social services, mental health services for those that are being a draw on our business corridor without actually committing any crimes. And number three, we need to address the vacancies in the social services. And number three, we need to invest in sewers, even though I'm not allowed to talk about that.
Okay, but Supervisor Romaine, that same question?
What should we do? Well, there's a lot of things that we do. First of all, there's more than 3 social service houses in Coram. And if anyone doubts that, try walking in my shoes, because I've seen these houses. I've taken 39 people out of one house alone. And public safety has nothing to do with that. That's the most ridiculous claim I've heard. It has to do with the police, making sure we have enough police, making sure that if crime is committed, we have detectives that will investigate, and following what New York City would call the broken window theory. If you go after the small stuff, the larger stuff, less likely to happen. The other thing that you've got to do is hold social services to the state building and fire safety code. Because what you have with the placement of social services, and they say they don't place, but that's not exactly correct. You have a lot of substandard housing. I've taken down over 400 zombie homes in this town of Supervisor, and I can tell you.
Thank you very much, Supervisor.
We need to make changes.
Okay, that concludes part 1 of tonight's festivities. Part 2 will begin. And
Is there a test?
you have no idea. In part 2, we collected sheep from the audience, come up with some nice questions. In this part, if a question goes to a candidate and their person that they're running against is here, that person gets a chance to rebuttal for a minute. So now we're gonna go question and then rebuttal if somebody's here. So first one goes to our highway superintendent candidate. And the question is, what will be done about litter and mainly business signs on poles? And how will you hold them accountable?
Unfortunately, that's not the highway department. I apologize for, and then, and this is kind of a common misconception. People hear superintendent of highways, they don't realize that has specific meaning under New York State highway law. Roadside litter, when I have my sidewalk cleanup crews out during the growing months, they do pick up litter and trash before they mow, so it doesn't just get chopped up. But actually, our Waste Management Division is responsible for general roadside cleanups. Our law department is responsible for enforcing the town code against illegal signage. I don't have, as was pointed out before, the town is limited in its enforcement power. I, as highway superintendent, actually have no enforcement power. Unfortunately, that does not fall under the auspices of the highway department.
I'll give Mr. Kaplan a minute to answer though.
I actually do have an answer to that question. First and foremost, it's road sweeping. Speak about litter, I travel, I've walked over 150 miles during this campaign, and road sweeping is very, in my estimation, road sweeping is very poorly done in this town, number one. Number two is, you talk about litter, you're not talking about just town roads, you're talking about Middle Country Road. Middle Country Road is a disgrace. So I would, not even on day one, even if I was elected, I would contact the state DOT, the county DOT, and say, we have to clean up our streets. We have to clean up our sidewalks. Road sweeping has to be done at least 2 or 3 times a year. So that would eliminate a lot of roadside litter. Thank you.
Okay. But let me just also throw this out, the signs out to Dan Panico, because I think that. Thank you. The signs on poles and stuff like that.
The signs on poles are all litter. See those campaign signs right there? I brought them in here. All of our campaign signs should be on people's lawns. If you ever see one of my campaign signs on the side of the road, pick it up, take it, throw it away, actually recycle it. Our roadsides in this state, on this island, do not look like other places when you travel. When you talk about 25 being a disaster, you're right. The state DOT, ask anyone up here who knows government, ask Mr. Engelbright, who's been in state government for a very long time, is one of the most impossible organizations to deal with. They make the DEC seem like a walk. I see the Sagliakis in the back who've been fighting with the Friends of Lincoln Avenue in neighboring Port Jefferson Station to try to get done that which is simple, reasonable, and anybody in this room could agree upon. The New York State DOT is impossible to deal with, and State Route 25 in many ways is a disgrace. But because of this organization, many other organizations from Longwood, year over year, and I was part of the cleanup, 75% less year over year from the first cleanup to the second cleanup. So where the state is failing, the good people of this community, helped by the people, some of the people up here, are helping pick up that slack. Thank you.
Before I ask the next question, our intent is to end this at 9 o'clock. So we have about 15 more minutes of the questions from the audience. This one goes to Carol Russell. What are your qualifications for this job? Coram is broken into several council districts. How will you help unite these districts in order to represent a cohesive quorum?
I'm sorry, would you tell me the first part again? It seemed like two questions.
Yeah, it is a two-part question. What are your qualifications for this job? That's question one.
Okay.
Quorum is broken.
I got the rest of it.
Okay, you got the rest of it? Okay, very good.
So first of all, just because you speak louder doesn't mean what you say is true. Coram Civic had the social services director for Suffolk County here, who indicated that they run 3 houses in Coram. There are other social services recipients living in other places within Coram, but they are not run by social services. The town supervisor indicated that he's taken down 400 homes, but at that very same meeting, or perhaps the meeting before, a resident talked about a zombie home on Grove Street, and he said, we can't do anything about it. What I'm seeing when I knock on doors is there is disparate code enforcement between Coram and the rest of, at least District 2, where I'm knocking doors. They're getting cited and ticketed for things in Rocky Point and Sound Beach that they would never get cited and ticketed for, and should be in Coram to clean up some of those crime
Thank you very much.
problems. But I'm sorry to get to my qualifications, but I think I spoke about them in my initial word.
Jane Barnett, do you want to reply?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So my qualifications are that, by and large, I have worked as your council district representative since 2007. Proudly, I can say that last year when we were in a 10-year required redistricting, this civic organization came to all those redistricting meetings and requested Council District 2, Jane Bonner specifically, because they like my moxie and they like my roll up my sleeves, put on my boots to get the job done attitude. They requested Council District 2 and Jane Bonner take in more quorum in redistricting when it comes in effect in January. And if I don't, that doesn't say confidence in the job that I'm doing, nothing does.
May I respond since the question?
No, we're just going to do one. So that's it. I'm sorry. The next question is directed to either Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Gary, excuse me, or Ed Romaine. So I'm going to ask Ed Romaine to respond, then Mr. McCarry to respond, because both going towards the county level. Comparisons have been made between Patchogue and Coram. You need another plan. Patchogue has a downtown, Coram has no downtown. A sprawl with shopping malls, how would you solidify or address the economic improvements in Coram? Specifically address.
Coram is different than Patchogue, no question about it.
Absolutely.
obviously, as a county executive, I would not be controlling zoning. Zoning is the way land development takes place. Zoning through the town board, through site plan, through our planning board, through exceptions, through our zoning board of appeals. That is a town issue. What the county can do is we have a planning commission and we have a planning department. We can work with the town in developing plans for Coram. But before you develop plans, the first thing you have to do, I believe, is work on some of the most obvious issues. Some of the substandard housing, some of the homelessness that we see. I don't know if anyone saw 60 Minutes last night, but the governor of California spoke convincingly of a new program that they're implementing for homelessness, where they pull them in court, try to get them mental health, counseling, other things. And if they don't adhere, court can so order. And it's a way to deal with people. As you find when you talk with homeless people, there are other issues beneath the homelessness that need to be addressed.
Thank you very much.
So homelessness, housing, and you build from there. But first you deal with the most obvious before you go on to go to the other things.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. McGarry, would you like to answer that also?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity and apologize for any confusion. And what I said made it seem as if I think Patchogue is Coram or vice versa. Obviously, very different communities, same county, same region, same district, and I hope to serve both communities the best of my. Underlying though, my point is still the same. What works in one area can work in another. Number one, we need sewers in Coram if we want private investment. Tens of millions of dollars doesn't mean anything in sewer infrastructure. Hundreds of millions of dollars, which a water quality referendum would have provided us. Number two, zoning. Supervisor spoke well of it. I'm not looking to interfere. I'm running for county office, not looking to insert myself in the town policies and zoning. But if a private developer wants to invest in our community, we have to find ways of working with that investor that makes sense for the overall harmony of the community. That's what Patrick was able to do. Instead of saying no, we look for ways to say yes, as long as it aligns with what we wanted. That's what we need to do. And then the third point I'd make, I think I've belabored, we need to be investing in law enforcement and services to address the issues that are from law enforcement.
So this is a different type of question, but it's addressed to Mr. Darcio. And I'll, Mr. Trent, rebut if he wants to. Do you believe in the separation of church and state government? The question of the day is.
Constitution provides for that. And we as elected officials have to support the Constitution. And if the Constitution says that there's a separation of church and state, then it is my duty as an elected official in the state of New York to do exactly that. So.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Mike. Okay. Mr. Trent.
How is that question?
Okay, thank you. This is addressed to Ryan McCary. What would you do to decrease the number of single room occupancy houses in the Coram Gordon Heights area? Currently, this is specific, there are approximately 24 in a 4-block radius in the area, 3 of them right next to this person. So it seems that they want to address the number of single room occupancy homes in Gordon Heights. What would you do?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an important issue, one we're hearing at the doors. Obviously, we need to address that. And we have to address the fact that there is, as been talked about by other candidates this evening, a disproportionate concentration in some communities, as opposed to others. I think we do need to look at that as a county, as a region, and make sure that we're being fair with where that concentration is. I will echo a point that's been made earlier. As a volunteer firefighter, I do know one of the easiest ways we can address that issue is when we do get fire calls. These types of houses, this type of living, puts us as firefighters at risk because there's often walls that you beat where walls are, no egress. It's a safety issue, all against the town codes. So when we're seeing something happen with your firefighters, we need to be calling our partners at the town and making sure those those codes, excuse me, are being enforced to the best of our ability. But from the county level, we need to really address the over concentration in certain.
This person didn't designate a particular candidate, so I'm gonna throw this out to the board here, or the, anybody that wants to respond can respond. Why was the Beacon House allowed to build in Coram against the strong opposition Coram had to it? What is your position on it? Even though I know Beacon House is being built right now. Does anybody want to respond to that?
Want to repeat the question?
I'll repeat the question again. Why was the Beacon House allowed to build in Coram against strong opposition from the Coram community? What is your position on it?
So it's not in my part of quorum, but I will address the fact that the town board didn't have any zoning, this went to the Board of Zoning Appeals for the Beacon House. And that's a separate autonomous board, much like our boards are. The Beacon House is a home or apartments for veterans that suffer from drug and alcohol abuse.
Okay.
The question was, if the Coram, excuse me, may I?
Please, Jean, please, thank you.
Civic, along with all of those people at a meeting, authorities strongly addressed that and said we can.
You went to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
They came to us, representatives came to us, and it was made clear at that meeting, strongly, and everybody knew it. It's not a quiet thing, but it all of a sudden it's there.
Yeah,
Sure, because it's your district.
not anymore, it's actually yours now. No, Jane Bonner, what Jane Bonner said is absolutely correct. That land was zoned many years ago by prior administrations, as Dan Panico had pointed out earlier about zoning. It was zoned for that type of business, we'll call it.
For drug and alcohol rehab?
Yes. So what happened was that it happened
We're not
years
gonna
ago.
go this direction.
It happened years ago before we were on that board. However, that does not come before the town board because the zoning is already in place. So as Jane Bonner said, it went to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals is really where that question would have to be directed to. However, they decided that they would stick with that zoning and not try to change anything, and that's how that project came to. And I'll tell you this right now, all of us on this town board, we didn't want that. We wanted to oppose it. However, we don't have any jurisdiction over the planning board.
Thank you.
House closed the vet center in Yaphank because they couldn't afford to renovate it, but they can afford to buy that land and fix the house.
They said there wasn't a need at that juncture.
That's a separate discussion. I don't want to get that out of hand yet. The last question for the evening.
May I just respond?
Yeah, to respond.
Respond or answer? I was at one of the Coram Civics where that was specifically addressed. So I do know that there was a strong opposition to that building project. It was also presented as a veterans home, which it's called the veterans home, but it only has 15% requirement to house vets.
Okay. Last question of the evening. This goes out to Carol Russell. What is?
Yes, on the hot seat tonight.
Well, not really. You and Jane together. You're both on the hot seat. What is the vision to enhance and expand services / support for housing for the homeless population and mental health services?
So I think that's probably the root of the biggest problem in Coram, which is the crime problem. If we can address that underlying root, we'll really make very good strides. The vision to do that is to partner and get money and assistance from the county in terms of social services and the Department of Health and mental health and hygiene, and using those laws, as well as the state getting grants, educate particularly on the issue of drug and alcohol, use, if we can educate, people on those problems, that would be a very good way to move us forward and to decrease that crime, because we know that that's what the crime is associated with. And since I have 18 seconds, I want to go back to something Ms. Bonner said, which was this Coram Civic in the redistricting didn't ask to be in District 2. They asked to be in only 2 districts. They got 3 districts. That was the promise, was 2 districts. We're in 3 districts. They didn't ask to be in District 2.
Okay. Jane, do you want to respond?
Sure, Frank. So,
But she spoke already. That was my response.
No. Wait 1 second. I said, if you're asked a question and your person that you're opposing is here too, they can do a rebuttal.
Okay.
That was the rule. That was the
I'm
rule.
not gonna rebut, I'm just gonna kind of dovetail again and say, many of the issues that Coram is suffering from are brought down to you from state law and state legislation. Even when my esteemed colleague, Assemblyman Steve Engelbright, when he was in government and I worked in partnership with him, he was frustrated with state law. As the ranking senior member in the state assembly, couldn't help us change things. I have to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, we need a wholesale change in the state. Nothing said to the voices in this room crying out for change. And as your representative, that I have an email from the Coram Civic Association from when they spoke at the redistricting meeting, speaking and saying kind things about my representation in
Okay,
Council
thank you very much.
District 2.
All right.
That's why I'm here before you asking for your vote.
2 things. Please, your scoring sheets, which is very important because we are going to endorse candidates based on what you have seen here. And when we get together at our board meeting, so turn them into Kareem before you leave tonight, please. We're going to give each candidate in turn 1 minute conclusion to say whatever they want to say. Yeah, you can tell them, please. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, congratulations. Get a minute then.
Your timing is
Oh, you want
excellent.
Just
Why don't you sit here, I'm gonna get bottled water. You're welcome.
Okay, Dave, have at it. I'll give you a minute and a half because you.
Thank you all. Thank you, the Civic. Apologize for being late, everyone. As Supervisor Romaine can tell you, Suffolk County is a unique place and we have things to go to all over the county. But it's an honor to be here because this in so many ways is home for me. I grew up in Mount Sinai, just down the street, and it's an honor to be here with all of you today. My name is Dave Colon. I'm a candidate for Suffolk County Executive. I'm excited to be running because I believe that we have a huge opportunity here in Suffolk County to move our region forward. My background, after growing up here in Mount Sinai, graduating from schools, went away to college and law school, I became a federal prosecutor and a state prosecutor. I've been in the business community, I've helped start companies here on Long Island and around the country. I believe that if you want to make sure our community is safe, it makes sense to have a prosecutor as county executive. Never had someone who's a prosecution background as county executive. I also bring, as I said, the private sector experience. We've never had anyone from the private sector be county executive. And I look forward to bringing that experience as well. For me, I've also been involved in Suffolk County. I chaired the Planning Commission for Suffolk County for 8 years, focusing on things like protecting our water, transportation, housing, those kinds of things. I've headed up Suffolk Superstorm Sandy Review Task Force, looking at how we can make our area more resilient to future natural disasters. And I headed up the small business recovery efforts for Suffolk County in partnership with our county executive during COVID-19. So I'm excited to focus on the things that I believe really matter to the Coram community and matter to all of us here in Suffolk County. Keeping our community safe, fighting drug addiction, making sure we're protecting our schools, but focusing on issues like good paying jobs, helping our small businesses succeed, making sure that the 25 corridor is successful from a perspective of making sure we have small businesses able to grow, and making sure that we're protecting our water quality and the water we drink is right underneath our feet, we need to protect it, and make sure our families are safe and our communities are safe. Thank you so much for the opportunity to visit with you. I'll hang around afterwards, and thank you again to the Civic.
Before we go down the table and give everybody a minute, I want to recognize that we do have another candidate here tonight for receiver of taxes. Louis, if you want to stand up, and we'll give you do you want a minute to talk?
Okay.
You just collect money, you don't talk, huh? All right. Okay, let's go down the table. Jane,
Sure.
1 minute each.
I got displaced, but that's okay, no problem. Thank you to the Coram Civic Association for hosting tonight. It was very spirited. And as you can tell, I'm very passionate about what I do. I respect this community very much, and I look forward to be on the cusp of it, of improving and being a force of change for all of you. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you again, everyone. Yeah, I've been able to parlay my experience in the private sector. I worked for State Farm for almost 10 years, straight out of college. I was a laborer with Local 66. My father owned an auto body shop. So I bring a great deal of private sector experience, along with working on 3 levels of government, which, despite the fact that he was in office so long, I think Steve Engelbright is trying to catch up with me, running for another level of office here. But I've taken all that experience, and I have been able to make fundamental transformative changes in a department that was analog when I took it over. I brought it into the digital age. We have changed over all of our streetlights in the town to LED, saving $1.5 million a year, recurring savings in one change. I look forward to continuing my efforts and look forward to continuing to work with all of you. So thank you.
Right.
And thank you, Frank, thank you. And most of all, thank you to all of you, because you have all, this civic has always been so welcoming to me and my staff. You notice every Coram Civic meeting, like, if I'm not here, one of my staff members is. As for instance, tonight we have Jimmy in the back over there. If not, Jimmy's not here, Victoria's there. The reason why I always send a staff member, we have so many meetings that we go to every night, where a lot of, we can't be everywhere at one time. The reason why I do that is so that they can listen and then bring it back to us. And as we said all along tonight, one of the things that we do, and I think we do it pretty successfully, is work with the other levels of government. By working with the other levels of government, we can do what's most important. Most important thing to me, it always has been, is safety. You want to be able to be safe in your own home. You want to be safe in your community, and you want to be able to enjoy the services that that community offers. The other thing we talk about is quality of life, just about out of time. And lastly, I just want to say thank you, because one of the things that we've tried to do, thank you.
Hey, by the way, when we served together on a Board of Education, you never shut up. So, there you go.
Should have had a timer.
Yeah, should have had a
There you go.
timer there, yeah. Hey.
Thanks, Frank.
County government owes you safety. County government owes you staffing. County government knows saying the change is only as strong as its weakness. You put resources where you need to change a community. You put police, detectives, you work with social services to inspect the housing, to make sure that it meets code, state building code, fire code. Make sure that you don't overburden any one community. And when that happens, you have an obligation to fix it. I'm running for county executive on simple words. This county, this community needs to be fixed. This community needs attention, focus that will change it. That's why I am endorsed by every police organization in Suffolk County. And that's why I will lead as county executive and work with this city to fix this community so we can all feel safe, so we can all feel the renaissance that should happen here and will happen here.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Coram Civic meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you all for taking the time tonight. If you're getting a sense of me, you're meeting me for the first time. I have little patience for rhetoric. I'm about getting results done. And I have a record I'm in my 14th year on the town board that I am extremely proud of. You got a bit of the flavor, only a small part of it tonight, but you see this smiley face, you're gonna be sitting in your mailbox a lot, and I'm going to tell you about it because I'm proud of it. I'm also endorsed by all of the police unions. I'm endorsed by the builders. I'm endorsed by the Sierra Club, the New York League of Conservation Voters, and you would think they wouldn't be on the same
You read
side,
the email
but
from
they are,
Kareem,
because
the
I am
meeting's tonight.
pragmatic, I am reasonable, and I'm a person who
That's
likes
too
to
early. You
get
could join by Zoom,
things
so here you
done.
go.
I've done it before, and I'm going to do it for the people of Coram. I look forward to being your town supervisor. I appreciate the time you've given me here tonight, and I ask for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you very much.
Must have been Romaine. Romaine Solid.
Dave, you get another 60 seconds.
Oh, thank you. Look, I believe strongly that we need to make sure that we are investing in every community. I believe that our county, which is a 1.5 million people, by the way, 1.5 million people, we're the largest county in the United States. This is part of a city now. I believe we need to have vision about where we're going as a community,
United
where
States.
we're going as a region, but we only reach our highest heights. We only fulfill our destiny as a region if we take advantage of the God-given abilities of each of our people, and we make sure that we're uplifting each community. So as someone who grew up right here, who is living in this area, I am firmly committed to making sure that the Coram community thrives like other communities have. It starts with jobs, it starts with small business, it starts with safety. And I have a background in all of those things to help lead our region forward and our community forward. And I look forward to working with you as your county executive. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Carol.
Thank you very much. And please, afterwards, ask me any question that we didn't get to. The reason I'm running for this position is because I've been an advocate my entire adult life. A patient advocate, a legal advocate. I've been a women's advocate working with Dress for Success. I've been a voter protection advocate, the New York Democratic Lawyers Council, making sure people that are registered to vote get to vote.
Am I muted or unmuted?
I want to be a voice for our community. That's why I'm running. Why should you vote for me? First and foremost, I'm not a politician, as you can see. Second reason is my opponent has been in office for 16 years. When she took office down at Plaza 99, you had to wait. If you didn't get there early enough to the Pancake Cottage, you had to wait online. It's now mostly vacant. I want to bring that change that everyone here has talked about, and I think I can do it. So thank you very much for asking me anything.
Cameron.
Well, thank you again, everyone, for being here. I'll be brief. I'm not a politician. I'm a public servant. I've always been a public servant. When I was in high school, I was a public servant. I graduated and ran for the school board at age 18, 19, and 20 because I felt that folks that looked like me needed an advocate because the board that served that school district didn't look like me. And those are the reasons why I'm running. Because I, like you guys, a divided quorum. I come from a divided community myself. And I know what it's like to feel not represented. I know what it's like to show up at meetings, to advocate for things strongly, and the town board or the school board does whatever they want to do. I know what that feels like. That's why I'm running, again, to be a public servant. Being on the school board is one of the most important things I feel like I've done in my 26 years old. Because I get to go to the school building and see the impacts that we have on the school board and how it affects our young people. One of the things I'm most proud of doing is making sure that we have free breakfast and lunch for all of our students, regardless of age.
Thank you.
So I
Thank you.
Yes, thank you to the Coram Civic. Thank you for having me. Why do we have term limits? Very simple, because after a certain amount of time, I think folks, they forget what a privilege it is to serve the public and be a true public servant. You're looking at a true public servant. I happen to be endorsed by, right on my chest, Bo Betts, the best union I think in the country. And I've been a union card holder for 30 years. I've had 2 jobs in my adult life, highway and the Army. So if you Google my name, I'm the 3rd one that comes up in your Google search. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. you'll see that my videos and reels have tens upon tens of thousands of views. And I've spoken to almost 10,000 residents in my 150 miles of walking this town. I've knocked on thousands of doors. Okay, and one last thing, being a great public servant, you have to be a great listener.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Nicholas.
Thank you again tonight. It's been a pleasure. I am not a politician. My whole entire adult life, I was like just and coached thousands of kids in my community. I'm like but I was like this national board. I was like this. And every time, except last I ran unopposed, that's because I earned the trust of my community. Those I represented, I represent the hardworking middle class families of Suffolk County, my communities. So I am hardworking middle class family. I know that our issues are not on the agendas of many politicians. I am not a politician. Elected by you, represent you.
Okay. Anthony.
I think the greatest gift that anybody could ever give is of their time, and I think I can speak for everybody. We're grateful that you spent your night here listening to us talk. I think it's important. I love the Coram community. I grew up a stone's throw in Rocky Point, as I said, and I've spent a lot of time in Coram, and I still do with my children. I think what's important is that you want to have an elected official, county, that hears you, that represents you, that's open to dealing with the issues that are important to you. I'm someone that does care. Again, I guess I'm not a politician and I'm not an elected official. I'm one of you that's running because I care about the community. And I want you to know that in me, you're going to have someone that's going to listen to you, that's going to be there, that's going to work with the county executive on economic development, dealing with police issues where there are, and the other levels of government. Not talk, but actually getting things done. And you're going to see me here in the Coram community continually, and you can always call me. And again, I'm grateful for your time, and I'm asking for your vote on November 2nd.
Steve.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to be with you on this rainy evening. Thank you all for daring to brave the slippery roads to be here. I am running for the county legislature because I have work undone there. I served 5 terms in the county legislature. Spearheaded the Suffolk County Open Space Program, spearheaded the preservation of pine barrens, bought the Shore nuclear power plant, and introduced the first major plastics ban in America. Unfortunately, after I left the Suffolk legislature, my colleagues who had voted for that single-use plastic ban listened to the siren song of the plastics industry and made it voluntary with the promise that they were going to recycle. Recycling of plastics, of course, never happened. That's still on the books. We need to have a hearing. We need to get back.
Thank you very much,
to
Steve.
basics.
Thank you.
Please consider me when you vote. Thank you very much for your time.
Kathy.
I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I want to thank Coram Civic for having this. I will be here, so if you have any other questions for me, I would be happy to answer them. I've advocated for my clients. I advocated for them for 21 years when I was a practicing attorney. When I came to work for legislator Anchor, I advocated for the constituents, and that's what I wanted. That's why I'm running in the 6th district. I've done things like draft resolutions. I've looked at budgets and helped go through the budgets and advise the legislator on how to vote, both capital and operating budgets. I know the job, and I want to continue to serve the public, and I hopefully look for your vote on November 7th. Thank you again for coming out tonight.
Brian.
Yes, first, obviously, I want to thank people very much. It's not easy holding us all accountable to exactly 60 seconds.
Let me tell you something. I'm glad you did, because we're going to be returning this buzzer on Amazon. That's what I want to see that.
I also want to thank fellow colleagues who came out. Both sides of the aisle. Most importantly, I want to thank all. Again, I learned at a very young age that learn more from questions than you often answers. So thank you so much for the questions. It allows us to understand priorities and concerns. somebody with 20 years experience fighting and representing the House public. I want to represent our community. I hope that earns your support. Whether I get the job or not, I want to do the job. My phone number, personal cell phone number, 631-871-9110. Reach out anytime because I want to serve you. I want to address your needs. Use the experience I have from working for both two county executives, understanding the county's needs from an operational standpoint, through management, as well as now my current role representing the county workforce, understanding the operational needs of the workforce perspective. Thank you so much for the time. Pleasure meeting you.
Two last things to the candidates. Thanks for coming out tonight, sharing your thoughts with us. It's very much appreciated. To the Coram Civic members and the community members, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for being very respectful of no heckling, no nothing around. Very good. Thanks a lot. We're over.
Oh,
Yeah,
50,
bring your,
Tonight's a good night.
your sheets, bring them up to Kareem, please. Scoring sheets.
Yes, yeah, we'll flip them over this way. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.